Lee, who is the master of bringing people together. This is really something that I've gotten to. I've known Lee for 40 years, just about, and nobody that I know is better at getting links to people and helping people, finding out their strengths and giving them support. He did that for me, and I appreciated that because he's really responsible for anything that I've done with music since I left. I retired from the Smithtown School District, so I thank him for that. But we're here to talk about Al. So Al came the first night, Lee brought him. And when he first came, I said, how is this gonna be? It seems that Al is, like his background is folk music and cruises and Charlie Parker, who's that? And, you know, I said, okay, let's do it. Those of you that know anything about jazz groups, and of course Mike will testify to this, jazz people, maybe they're kind of snobby, and they tend to feel that they know what they do, and an intruder becomes very not an intruder, but someone to join a group is sometimes very difficult, because everybody has their own perspective of what the music should be. And when somebody else comes, is this gonna work? Does it fit in with what I do? And I need to tell you briefly one story that I thought of when Al came into the group. The most famous story about a musician joining another group is the story, and this will take a moment, forgive me. Charlie Parker was a great jazz musician, age of about 14 or 15, went to a jam session in Kansas City. Whether this story is exactly true or not, we don't know. But the story is this: he went to play, picked up his horn, and the drummer was Joe Jones, who's a very famous drummer, Papa Joe Jones. And this 15-year-old kid comes in, can I play? And Charlie Parker starts to play and fumbles, staggers through a chorus, and Joe Jones, who was extremely rude and a very difficult person, actually I saw him once in the city play, and if he didn't like the way you played or the way you looked at him from the audience, he would let you know it. He took up the cymbal from the drums and he threw it at Charlie Parker. And it just missed his head. Charlie Parker left the stand, and the story is, for 2 years he went into the shack, the chicken shack as they said. He got the name Bird, that's one of the legends. And when he came back, of course, he became this great genius. So the story is, jazz musicians can be very hard on one another. One other quick one that again, very briefly, that I witnessed is a story of Sonny Stitt, who invited a 16-year-old kid to come up and play with him in a club in the city, the Cafe Bohemia. And Sonny Stitt was probably the greatest technician in jazz, I think, technically, and he invited this kid, come on up and play. And he counted off Cherokee at a great neck tempo as the first tune. Very, very fast, extremely fast. And of course, come on, you play. Of course, the kid couldn't play it. And it was very embarrassing for the audience, for everybody. The kid sat down, it was embarrassing, it was humiliating to him. And then of course, Sonny Stitt played this hair-raising 20 courses, whatever, and it was like saying to him, you see kid, you gotta work at this, you just can't come up here and do this. Now the reason I'm mentioning these two stories, Al was a master at coming in with us and integrating himself in the group. From the beginning it was clear that he was terrific. He understood at the beginning that he was there to listen to us, and he listened a lot. But gradually, as each week went on, he sang more and more, and he did more and more, and I then realized that this was going to be eventually his group, and we would support him. Now, the tradition of that actually goes back to the 30s, to Billie Holiday and Lester Young. They were the first ones to do this. Billie Holiday and Teddy Wilson made albums. That was the first ever where a singer played with jazz soloists. What is obvious, and what Al did with us, really goes back to the earliest tradition in the history of jazz, which Billie Holiday and Teddy Wilson started. And that was, you play a chorus, the singer sings, and then you go around the horn, and the musicians take one chorus each. never more. Usually it was one chorus. That's because the records were only 3 minutes long. That was the primary reason for that. All this is to say is that Al was an integral part of our group and was just wonderful. And another thing that I learned from him was that you can start something new at any age. And that's something I learned, because I respect Al, because he was walking into something he didn't really have a lot of background in. And he decided he wanted to do this. And this is wonderful when you can go back and relive maybe some fantasy you had and do it later in life and try to master it. That's hard to do for a lot of us. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. And that's probably the one thing that I'm going to always thank him for, because he told me that even I'm 80, that you can always start something at any age. And Al really mastered it, because by the time we had our group here, it was his group, it was his sound, and I always thank him for that. And fortunately, we have 2 videos. We did 2 TV programs. TV, it was, you know, online on the computer, but it was television, and I'm glad that those are there, that we can remember what the fine work that he did. So thank you very much for indulging me for my little
I think
speaker.
we have some, they have the